Got it. Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. You make me wanna die. Just trying to stay alive. Some days I wanna die, but I don't wanna say goodbye.
This is Slashers, your new favorite podcast about your new favorite horror media. My name is Aid, and today is a special Call Your Ghoul Friends episode because today I am joined by my boo-boo Mikey.
Hi.
And our special, very special guest, Miss Yahira, Doug's wife.
Hi.
It's Mrs. Yahira to you, Adrian.
Mrs. Yahira.
Don't give any of these gentlemen listeners false hope, or some women listeners.
Yes, well, say hello to the mutant goons from beyond. Well, I guess you guys already did that, but
Yeah, we did. But hi again. Hi again. Welcome,
Hi,
Yahira.
everybody.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Yes, we've been trying. We were talking about this recently. I'm like, we need to get Yahira on an episode. She's in the chat now, and we basically like it's like all Yahira. Like we love Doug, but we love Yahira like a little bit more. No, just kidding.
Have you ever been on an episode, Yahira?
No, actually, I never been. Like, I sing him when he records all the time, but I never been. And then actually, I watch all the movies that you guys actually do recordings on.
Yeah.
But I never been in an episode.
I know Doug likes to tell us your opinion on some of them when we watch a movie together, and he's like, "Well, Yahira didn't like it either." But I'm surprised you haven't been on, because I always think of I always just imagine you as one of the hosts anyways, because we always plug B Movie TV, we always talk about you, you're always like around, we always post you on Instagram, so I was like, I don't think she's actually ever been on, even before I've been on. So how appropriate for you to be on a Call Your Ghoul Friends episode, because now the Ghoul Friend trifecta is complete and we don't have any more lame penises flying around.
I know. We're like the Latin lovers over here. I love it.
Oh yes, it is true. We're all Latin, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're the Tres Leches.
Yes. Yes.
I know. See, we're a very diverse podcast here at Slashers Podcast. So,
Well,
yay.
if I may ask a question and take over Aid's job, since this is the first time you've been on the show, I want to know, what's your favorite horror movie? Or what's your top 3? What's your relationship with horror? Yeah, what got you into horror? What's your top 3 horror movies? Tell us everything about you and horror.
Okay, so my top 3, all-time top 3, it has to be Child's Play 2.
Mhm.
And it has to be also, I was like 5 when I watched the Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one, the first one. And all I remember of that is just flipping channels around 10 p.m. when I'm not supposed to, because I'm supposed to be mad. And seeing him with a song, it's like 1, 2, it's coming for you. Yeah, and then seeing his hand grabbing the person when he breaks the door and grabbing her, towards the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember screaming and being like, oh. And then the next day I told my mom, and then mom was like, why you were watching TV at 10 p.m.? Like, you're supposed to be sleeping. So yeah.
Yeah,
I remember the song in Spanish because that's how I watch it.
Oh.
So the first time I watched it in English was when I met Doug. And so when I met Doug, and Doug was like, oh, you want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street? I'm like, yeah. And then I watched it in English. I was like, oh, it sounds way more scary in English than it sounds in Spanish.
Oh my God, I can't imagine Freddy Krueger speaking Spanish.
That's funny. I wonder who they got to voice his voice in Spanish.
That's so
I wonder
funny.
the same thing. Actually, I don't know who voiced them. The same with Child's Play, who voiced Chucky. I don't know who does it in Spanish, but it doesn't sound the same as in English.
Yeah.
Elvis Crespo. No.
Well, it's just funny because a lot of those characters, their voice is so iconic, and we hear it you can hear Freddy Krueger saying his lines, and Chucky, we only know his voice based off of just in terms of the actor and what the actor brings to the character. It's just his voice. So it's interesting to think of a Chucky or a Child's Play movie that's not what's his name?
Brad Dourif.
Yeah, Brad Dourif. There you go.
Well, Mark Hamill technically
He
was
did
also
okay.
Chucky, but
Yeah, he was the AI
Eh.
Chucky. But have you always liked
Yeah.
horror, Yahira?
Yeah, I think since I was a kid, I always
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, I mostly of the girls in my school when I was in elementary school and middle school, they would always make fun of me because I didn't like the love drama movies, and I would be like, no, that's too much. It's too sappy for me, and they're like, that's why you're like a boy, and so that's real life.
Yeah,
Well,
But I didn't care. It was funny.
and that's how she found Doug. Oh.
I think it's funny that I think a lot of Latin kids like horror because we're brought up with such horrifying stories from our parents. They always
Mhm.
have like the donkey lady's behind your bed and she'll snatch you if you misbehave. And like, I don't know if other cultures scare the shit out of their kids to control them, but that's probably why we're all like, oh yeah, Freddy Krueger. He's not as bad as the donkey lady. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then like I remember when we were kids, my mom would say like, if you don't eat your veggies, el coco is gonna get you. And so it's like this thing that's supposed to be like they grab you, whatever. I don't know.
yeah, I
For
haven't heard of the
for a
coco.
long time. Yeah, it's like something in Peru. That's what they said. Like, oh, if you don't eat your veggies, el coco te va a agarrar. Like, it's so funny. It's like, but when you're a kid, you do believe it. Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I remember when I had like little my niece and nephews will say the same thing. It was like, oh, if you don't eat it, el coco te viene por ti. And like
Mhm.
my little niece would be like this. No.
I remember when my parents used to take, because I have a lot of cousins, when we'd go to Mexico, in order to get, because we were a lot of cousins, there was like 6 of us. We'd always be running around the hotel acting crazy. And our parents would always tell us stories about like the example I used earlier with something hiding behind the headboard if we're misbehaving. That's where I learned that one. So, but
Meanwhile,
yeah.
Mikey's terrorizing his own children now with the same story.
Oh my goodness, no, these kids are way too sensitive for that. They can't even watch like Coco Melon's Halloween special.
But yeah, so well, I mean, I think that horror is very iconic, especially when you're a kid, because it's like so taboo, right? You're not supposed to be watching it, so you're very into it. And just like you, Mikey, I had 50,000 cousins, and the adults never watched us. It was always the cousins. So if my older cousins were watching horror, the little ones would be watching it too, because like, what else can we do, right? So, it's one of those things that I think it's a nice way to bring people together. So I was just telling somebody yesterday that, like my regular friends really don't care for horror. Dan doesn't care for horror or any of that. And like, really, it wasn't until I started the podcast with you guys that I actually found people with the same interests as me. And like, we have this whole like friendship now, and we have all these chats that we hang out in. And, we're doing a podcast together. So I think that,
Oh, that's us.
a lot of people, what's us? Yeah, it's you guys.
It's like, oh, what great friends.
And then we all went to California, and then we got to see Yahira and Doug and Jake and Mikey came too. So it was a lot of fun. And I think that, um, I would rather be a horror fanatic and have all of you than just be watching rom-coms all day and be boring. So,
Ugh,
although I do
barf.
love you, J-Lo.
But so,
Anyway,
wait, I have one more question. One more question for Yahira.
okay, one more question.
Yahira. Well, actually, it's a 2-part question.
Because I think you're stealing Austin's format, and he's not going to be happy when he hears this.
I don't give a fuck. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Austin. A Frightmares podcast. Listen wherever podcasts are sold. So for Peru, when did you move over here to United States?
In 2006, so I was like
Oh,
almost
wow.
16. I was 15 and a half.
Okay. Was there any horror films in Peru that aren't here that you liked? Or that they're probably maybe here, but they weren't a big deal here, but you saw in Peru? Like a Peruvian, is that what it's called? Peruvian? A Peruvian horror film?
There is a couple Peruvian horror films, but the reality is that there is tons of ideas, but there is not much baggage or money to
Mhm.
make them happen. So if they are movies, they're really low baggage, and some of them never see the light of day. So they wouldn't
makes
even
sense.
be in in any like local theater or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's tons of legends and tons of like people that talk to other people about different things. A lot of ghost stories, extremely a lot of ghost stories.
Well, yeah, you got to keep the kids in check somehow.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, actually, I think it was like in 2014 or 2015, they created there's actually a movie called La Casa Matusita, which is like it's a place that used to exist in Lima that is a really, really old Spanish like type colonial house. And that house had a lot of ghost stories. Like whenever you will pass by, people will tell you different things about it, like, oh, the whole family died there out of like out of this disease, or somebody murdered the whole family by putting something in their food, or like it was a lot of different things going on in there. And then people will swear by it that like the lights will turn on at night, and different things like that. They even had like a whole crew of like ghost chasers go inside the house. And so they created a movie about it. But I hear that it was really bad. I had never watched it. But my cousin actually was the one who watched it, and she told me, I went to the theater and watched it, but it wasn't scary. And I was like, oh, okay. But
Well, now we have to look it up.
will have to actually look at it and watch it. I wish that in Peru there will be more money, that will be people who want to put money into young directors or directors in general who wanted to create more horror, because there is a lot of like stories, and there's a lot of legends, and there's a lot to work on that you can actually make it a movie happen. It's so different than in Mexico, because I feel like in Mexicans it's completely different story. They do care a lot about movies, and they do put a lot of money into different projects and different people that want to create stuff to put the culture more out there. And I feel like in Peru that's what's lacking. There's not type of like they type of support that they probably people need. They don't have that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get it, because sounds like your country has a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's important that we, feature other cultures. There's a lot of, like Mexico does a lot of really good
Yeah.
horror films, and
Mexico and
so,
Indonesia, and like
Mhm.
I'm surprised how much comes out of Indonesia.
So, I really think that it's important that, other cultures and their stories, are showcased in horror. And, for a genre that seems to be doing a lot of remakes lately, or all of the time, I should say, there's so many like fresh ideas that they could stem from. And like, I don't see why you wouldn't go back and look at different cultures, and there's stories that they have to tell. And especially because you have Krampus like in Germany, and you have like all these different like things that scare you from all these foreign cultures. Like why is it so hard to create something new that is legitimately scary? Like I feel like lately it's been hit or miss. um and obviously there's a lot of what is it, divide on Skinamarink.
Well, I was
So,
about to mention, I feel like my gut instincts are telling me that things might change for the better for horror, because whether you like Skinamarink, Outwaters is getting the same reception. More people like Outwaters than Skinamarink because there's more of a narrative, but it still goes batshit at the end. But
mhm.
Outwaters, and the newest one is the Blood and Honey, which I heard isn't great, but it was made for like 100,000 and it's already past the $1 million mark in the movie theater. Like it's showing that even if it's not great, people go see them. So I'm hoping that that means more goodies for us to see in the theaters, even if we have to get through a couple of stinkers first.
Exactly. So, speaking of stinkers, well, not really. So, this episode is actually our Patreon pick from Brenda Rico on our Patreon, one of our Patreon members. And Brenda's very vocal on the Patreon, but I just don't know a lot about you. So, if I don't know if you're on Instagram or anything. Brenda did join the fitness challenge.
Oh, cool. Hi,
So,
Brenda.
when this episode airs, we'll still be
Hi.
doing the Hi. Thank you for joining, Brenda. I don't think they've logged any workouts yet, but that's
Hi,
okay.
Brenda.
The
I take it back.
the more the merrier. I know, right?
Just kidding.
But listen, y'all need to just keep on logging, because we're kicking we're kicking
We're kicking them though, because I log in the morning after my work and I was like, yeah.
I know.
yeah, exactly. Because Much Ado About Nerding, they're trying so hard. And the thing is, they have Joe and they have Carlos and they have a couple other people that are, avid fitness people on their team, but they're just not logging. And then, we have so many people, but I think it's even now. There's 11 people on both teams. And so for those of you who don't know, we're doing a fitness challenge with Much Ado About Nerding. Joe and Sally, they're brother and sister, and they are our, like, I don't want to say sister podcast, but they're friends of ours. We've done crossover episodes with them. Joe and Sally have been on a few episodes with us. I think namely The Crow and Apostle. And so, and then Jake's been on their show a few times. So
It's just so sad that they're losing.
I know, it's just really sad because, I mean, I
real
knew we were
sad
going to
about it.
win.
I know, but
I
I'm
know.
sorry to that man, like Kiki Palmer says.
Oh, I know. So anyway, sorry, Joe and Sally, that we're kicking y'all's ass, but we are the slashers, and obviously the slashers are going to overcome the nerds.
I guess you could say we're
anyways.
slashing the competition.
So anyway, so that was just a quick little stint on our fitness challenge. If you still want to join, just go ahead and DM any of us and we'll send you the invite. You just have to download the Gym Rats app and then put it in the code and just join on in, and make sure you join our team and not the nerds. It'll say slashers. We're the slashers, and Joe and Sally's team are Nerd Nation. So anyway, having said that, Brandon chose The Stylist, and this movie came out in 2020. I want to say, yeah, it came out in 2020. It premiered at
It had a real good vision to
Fantastic Fest. Yeah. Well, the thing is, it stemmed from the short film of the same name. And there's a lot of good things in theory about this film, especially it's written and directed by a woman who's also a hairstylist, Jill Gervis.
Hey girl,
I can't say her name.
I was making a vision
Jill
joke because it came out in 2020, but yeah.
Gervergesian.
Hey,
Yeah.
doesn't get it.
Oh no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what that means.
It's fine.
Okay, I don't know what that is. And so the film is written and directed by a woman, and it stars one of my favorite independent actresses, Nahara Townsend. Like, I love her.
The redhead, the main one.
Yes. I love her in Contracted. If you guys have never seen Contracted, it's such a good film. Contracted follows this woman who gets date raped at a party. She's actually lesbian. She and her girlfriend break up. She goes to a party, gets drunk, and she hooks up with this guy, but I think he put something in her drink and she falls asleep. But anyways, he actually works in a pathology lab, and he likes to fuck the corpses.
Ew.
And so basically he contracts something from the corpse and passes along to her, and she slowly starts to decompose throughout the film.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
Well, she
Contracted is
just
so
can't
much
win,
fun.
can she? That sounds real funny.
No, I love it. I think it's such a good movie. And so I was really excited when I saw that she was in The Stylist, because I really like her as an actress, because The Stylist, while it's classified as a horror film, I would say it's more of a character study, honestly. And then, when she's standing and I have to say that I can relate to her.
Same.
But I kind of do when she freaks out, like, sometimes, only because, like, I'm always crying, and so is she. So I think that, like,
yes, we know. This is the first thing I've seen her in, and I was obsessed with her throughout this movie. Like, I had to stop halfway because I had to do something, but I really wanted to keep watching it because I felt it was also like a character study, but I think it's a horror movie. I miss those movies from like mid to late 1990s where it was like, maybe it was early 2000s, but like Devil in the Flesh and Crush, and those like young girls that are pretty but also psycho, but you don't know until you get in too deep with them. And this kind of gave me those vibes. I don't think y'all enjoyed it too much, but I actually really liked it. Spoiler alert for our opinions.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the opinions in a minute. Let's just go through the statistics really quick. I couldn't find budget or how much the movie made. but it did premiere at the Fantastic Fest in September of 2020 and was released in US for streaming in March of 2021. So, that was one of those things where like I for the competition, I did both September 2020 and then March 2021 and both years. And really they in September of 2020, the only other competition I would say that is of note would be Antebellum. But for the rest of the year, we had The Hunt, The Rental, Fantasy Island, which sucked asshole. I hated that movie. Host, The Grudge, Invisible Man, Possessor, The Boy 2, Spree, The Babysitter, Killer Queen, Underwater, Deep Blue Sea Part 3, The Empty Man, Freak, The Wolf of Snow Hollow, Books of Blood, The New Mutants, You Should Have Left, Sputnik, A Quiet Place 2, Alone in His House. So, 2020 was a really good year for horror. So I'm not surprised that I overlooked this one. I don't know about y'all if you saw. Well, no, Mikey, you said you just saw it.
Yeah, it was the first time I saw. I remember it coming out because I really like the poster or the cover art. I think it's great. But I just never had the desire to put it on. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah, and Yahira, when did you see it?
I just watched it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So you've
Yeah.
seen it before too. Okay, yeah, and that's the thing is like I remember it coming out and I was getting it confused with that other movie that was on Hulu called Bad Hair. So at first I thought this was Bad Hair, but then upon further research I realized this is actually a, longer stint of the short film, The Stylist.
Yes.
And we've talked about this before because we've talked about other shorts that have become longer films and typically they don't really hold up because you have to get in so much more story.
Yeah.
And so, Yahira, I know that you said that you had issues with it, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But it's 105 minutes, a little long. Like you, Mikey, I had to watch in spurts. I watched like an hour, an hour of it one day, and then I finished it last night after recording because at that point I needed to make sure I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna have time to watch it today, even though I got my times mixed up today. I could have finished it today, but whatever. Anyways. But when it came out in 2021 for streaming for everywhere else, I mean, that was a pretty hard year to come out because 2021 had so many great horror movies. We had Old, not great. I liked Old, but I know a lot of people had an issue with Old, but Old came out. There's Something Inside the House, Spiral, Malignant, Antlers, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, No One Gets Out Alive, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, Halloween Kills, Willy's Wonderland, The Forever Purge, Dash Cam, Escape Room Tournament of Champions, Last Night in Soho, A House in the Bayou, The Wrong Turn remake, Till Death, which not remake, reboot, I should say. Till Death, Candyman, Night
Reabomination.
Teeth. Ugh, don't even get me started on the movie.
Yes, let's keep
Classic
going.
horror story, VHS 94, and Jacob's Wife. So, like a lot of these were independent or just straight to streaming, and so there's a lot of competition for this movie. So it is for a horror film to become from a short, a short to this, and then come out. I'm just speculating here because there wasn't really a lot of stuff on the film. I mean, when I started my research, the only things that you could really see were about the director and like who she was. And like, if you look up pictures, like it's all these pictures of them like posing, like posing together. So, I think that while I didn't dislike the movie, there were times where I felt like it dragged, and only because I think that again, you're trying to stretch, this whole thing out of like something that was only like 10-15 minutes. So I don't know. Anyway, so Yahira, I wanted to hear your thoughts on it because you were talking about it earlier. So what did you think of The Stylist?
I think it had a lot of potential, but they just didn't execute it. Like I feel like there's a lot of emptiness. Like for example, like when she kills, and then she just leave the bodies there. Like there's nothing, there's no elaboration to anything. Especially like when she killed the lady at the coffee shop, that actually makes me sad because the lady was really nice. And when she killed her, I also thought that scene was pretty good because she gets into this rage and she just like start killing it, right? I thought all that was great. The strength and everything looks great, but I didn't like how it ended. Like I didn't like she just put her in a bag and throw it in the trash. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I know
and
when she killed the barista, I was like, there's no way she cleaned all that up. Because she made such a big mess. And it's like, there's blood somewhere in that coffee shop. Like, they're going to find
Yeah.
something. But I mean, it's just, you know.
And she didn't even pick up the mat. Like, you know, those
no,
mats that you stand on, like you gotta pick
Mhm.
those
yeah.
up and wash it. Like she could easily just picked it up, washed it, mopped the floor, put everything back. You know what I mean?
And
And
then when
just
the brother was looking for the barista for the sister, because it was a sister,
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
yeah.
nobody knows what's happened. I'm like, nobody looks people's trash. Like nobody looks at the trash. Like they're not gonna
Yeah.
find the body inside the bag. Like,
Well, and the smell. The body should
yeah,
have
I was
smelled,
like,
and her basement should have damn well smelled.
yeah. So that's why I was like, yeah, there's a lot of like little emptiness, but I feel like maybe the director didn't focus on that. He didn't care for that type of things. Maybe she just cared more about the psychological things going on, like
Yeah.
how she was feeling. But also there's a lot of like questions about her. Like for example, like when they asked her, oh, how was your family? Like when that girl that that's supposed to go with her all the time for her, and then she was getting married, you know, they get together and stuff,
Olivia.
and they're chit chatting. Yeah, Olivia, here you go. And then chit chatting and stuff, and she wants to know more about her, but she's like so close up. She doesn't really want to tell much about her life. And nobody knows about her life in general. It looks like she just lived by herself. Doesn't seem like she has any connection with anybody. So
Mhm.
it seems like there was a lot of stuff going on mentally for her. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a character study. And that's the thing. Like if we were gonna like waste time or, you know, kill time with the film, a great way to put more in it to make it a little more interesting, I guess, would be to show us like how does she get away with these things, right? It just seems unrealistic in 2020 that there aren't cameras. Like nobody would have seen her go into the coffee shop. But I just think it's so clever, or I guess not clever, but just shows how she copes with her I don't know if it's trauma or her depression or her anxiety or whatever it is that she has. I mean, she's clearly diagnosed with something, right? But whatever she has or how she feels. And for those of you who don't know, I don't know if we talked about the recapitation, but really quickly, this film follows Claire, who is a lonely hairstylist who secretly murders and scalps her clients. When Olivia makes the well-intentioned mistake of asking Claire to style her hair for her wedding, she becomes dangerously obsessed, and her sanity starts to slip away with bloody consequences. And the thing is you can see Claire struggling because she's always crying, right? I don't think that this is a character who necessarily gets off on what she does. I think one, she likes the power, and two, she wants to kind of assume the lives of the people who she is scalping, right? And it
Yeah.
sort of reminds me of like a female version of Maniac, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Except she's not violating these women. Although I feel like there is I feel like she is, I don't know if she is a lesbian, but I feel like she is. Like, I feel like she has some sort of obsession with Olivia, but it's not just obsessed, like she's kind of in love with her.
I don't know.
And I don't know.
But
No, I go ahead. I mean, I don't know. It could like she maybe not just in love with her, maybe just wanting to covet her sort of thing. So maybe not necessarily love, but anyways, Mikey, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
okay, I'm about to word vomit because I have a lot of thoughts on this movie.
Okay.
I felt the opposite. I was like, I think they're trying to tell me she's a lesbian, but I don't think she's a lesbian. I think she's never been close to anybody, like a sister or a friend, to when she actually starts to feel that way. She loves somebody with her whole heart, but like not in a sexual way, more in like I want to share my life with this person kind of way. I mean, the only real sexual thing she did is use the same vibrator as the other girl, but you know, maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that she's a lesbian. There are definitely, and so one of the frustrating things that I can see to Yahira's point is they don't actually tell you why she kills people. And they don't actually they don't explain anything about it. Like you pretty much have to put the pieces together yourself. And let me preface this by saying I am not a murderer. So these events did not lead me down the same path as our lonely hairstylist, Claire. But I remember what made me kind of like connect with her is I remember there was a lot of times when I was a kid that I went, we had like a neighborhood gang pretty much, not like in a bad way, but all the kids, we had maybe like 6 or 7 kids that were the same age. We were all really close. And like for some reason, all of a sudden they just started alienating me. And I remember walking outside one time because I guess my mom told me to go get the mail and we had one of those like community mailboxes. And I'm walking out and I see my friend's mom's van drive out. And I look and I like waved at her. And I realized that all of the neighborhood kids were in there except me. And they were hiding and they like drove away. And so like they went to like Six Flags or something without me and they like very purposefully didn't invite me. So it hurt my feelings, And so there everybody goes through something like that where you have a point in your life where you feel left out, you feel like no one really likes you, no one wants you around. And I feel
Yeah.
she probably had that happen to her many times, maybe by family, maybe by friends. And she's fucking psycho and she knows this. And I'm not here to victim blame, but this is all Olivia's fault because this movie is about setting your own boundaries. When you ask someone something and they say no, you don't try
Yeah.
to manipulate them to say yes. Oh, but it's my wedding. She's like, I don't do weddings. She's told you twice.
Yeah.
And then you keep asking her. And then you don't know why she doesn't do weddings, but it's not your business. And the reason why she doesn't do weddings is because she doesn't want to get close to somebody, because when she gets close to somebody, she goes psycho. So, Olivia, way to go. You buried yourself, you dumb bitch. So, is this Claire's fault? No, not on my Women's March. But it's hard to back that up with the fact that she's killing other people unrelated to Olivia. And the people that I wanted her to kill, she didn't even kill. Olivia's bitchy friends that were like, why did the hair designer come with
Yeah.
her? Bitch. Oh, I was so mad about that.
Yeah, I thought that she should have killed those friends.
Yeah.
Because
me
also
too.
like when you were telling about like how she felt, it is true because she felt like she was having a friend for a moment, especially when they invite her over and said, oh, you can come over. Remember when she said, oh, you can come over and see me on the dress and we
Yeah.
can like talk and stuff, remember? And so when
Mhm.
she came in, she had that feeling. It's like, oh, I'm getting close to a person, because like definitely Olivia was telling her how she feels, like
Yeah.
how like she's not feeling ready for the wedding, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Told her about her family, and so it was like, oh, so it's getting personal. And
Yeah.
then she feels betrayed, because remember when she went to see her, and Olivia's like, oh, what are you doing here? And it's like, oh, I thought you needed me, or you need something, or if you're not ready. And it's like, listen, and remember, like it just pushed her away. So she
Yeah.
technically
Mhm.
was kind of feeling like, oh, so what's up with this? Like, you acted like you were my friend for a moment, or you wanted to get close to me, and then now you're just pushing me away. So
Yeah.
it
And
makes her trauma or whatever she's going through worse than what it was already. And
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's everybody grows up differently and everybody has different experiences when it comes to friends. That's why I think playing with people's emotions is super wrong, because you don't know how people are going to take it. Not everybody had a cutter life when you grow up and you're just kind of like, oh, cool. Yeah, you're rejecting me even though you're nice to me a second ago. That's fine. I can get over it. Some people can't. And I think that's kind of why I have a sensitive spot for it, because like you just can't treat everybody like they're the same. Now, granted, going to the extreme of being a serial killer is different. That usually doesn't happen, but it's still like emotions are something not to be played with, because you don't know how people are. And you even saw when she invites her up into the wedding to see her in the wedding dress, she didn't even want to stay up there that long. She's like, okay, I'm going back downstairs. And it's because she doesn't want to get too close to her because she knows what's going to happen. And um I lost what I was going to say. It's fine.
Well, and the thing is too is that when you deal, like there was a part in the film where she was bringing wine over and
Mhm.
she's panicking in the liquor store because of all the choices and she doesn't want
yeah,
to,
mhm.
and it's sad. It's just really heartbreaking watching. And like I said, that I feel like this is more of a character study because she's not, she seemingly on the outside she has everything put together. I mean, she has her own house, right? She's got this
Yeah.
cute little dog, great hair. I love her outfits, great earrings. Like
Oh, she
she's
loves that
not.
mustard color.
Oh yeah, and then
I love that dress.
I
Actually,
did
I was like,
too.
that looks really nice. I even told Doug, I said, "Do you think that would look good on me?" And Doug is like, "If you find one, yeah."
Oh wow, Doug.
Yeah.
Buy 3, Doug, or
Gosh,
get an extra
Doug.
small.
I know. So anyway, Doug. Anyways, but yeah, no, like with the dress and everything, or the way that she dresses, and she's very particular. And most of us can relate to her because I don't just put on the first thing, like put on an outfit and I go. I change like 4 or 5 times before I leave. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing myself to her. And I'd always also like to preface the fact that I'm not a serial killer, despite popular belief. But I I understood her, and I think that's what's scary about this film, or the scariest part about this film, is that we all can sort of relate to her. And it's kind of like in the same vein as Carrie, but Carrie's victimized, obviously.
Yeah.
But she's kind of weird too. She's isolated, she's this, she's that. But when Carrie gets her comeuppance, we all cheer for her. The difference here with Claire, and she kind of looks like my friend Claire, sorry. Like the difference with Claire is that we're not cheering for any of well, except for, you know what, honestly, I didn't care for Olivia, so Olivia could have gone or whatever. But I really didn't get annoyed when she killed the barista, because I feel like the barista gave her the attention that she, you know what I mean, that she so desperately needed. Like the woman didn't obviously know her, but
Yeah.
knew her name, knew her coffee, knew when she was bothered by something. And like, clearly there's lots of OCD there, because when there's a spot on something, she fucking freaks the fuck
Oh, I
out.
know. When she spilled the drink on at
Like,
the club, I was like, "Yee, something's wrong."
oh, I know. It was so like, and then, the blood on the shoe, obviously. But and I thought it was because it was blood, but it could have been anything on her shoe, and she would have
Mhm.
been freaking out like that until she fixed it. Right.
Yeah.
But like, I'm the same way. Like, I get, until I fix something, I fixate on it. Right. And so, I think it's kind of heartbreaking. What a good ending, though.
Oh, I
Like,
know.
what a good ending. I
I
mean, if
know.
you love or hate this movie, that ending was everything.
It
That
So,
was great.
It was so fucked up because, like you said, well, actually, you didn't say it. I thought you said it, but you didn't. Olivia didn't necessarily do anything to deserve that. But again, like when you push someone and you don't know the reasoning for not doing something, it's like, well, you kind of made her do that, but maybe don't kill her and wear her hair at the wedding. But it was
yeah.
like just the scene itself was kind of fucked up, and I was like, oh my god, I live for that. And then the little girl, she was like, that was the purest relationship in the whole movie, is Claire with the little girl. I don't know if it was Olivia's niece or what. When she does her hair, when she's accepted the
Yeah.
fact that these women are not gonna like her or be her friend, and so she's like, hey little girl, you want your hair done? And they have like that cute moment, and then they smile at each other at the end. I was like, that's the next Claire.
Yeah.
Wait for the sequel
Yeah,
with
no, for
her.
sure. And then, it was so good because, she had the hair on, and like, I don't know if it was meant, like if this was like intentional, or if this is just how these people look. But did you notice that Olivia and the fiance, they were both these goofy looking people? Like they had these weird garish like qualities to them. And it was just odd. And so like, especially the fiance, and I'm like, is this like, what is
Yeah,
this? What's
the
happening?
boyfriend, the
Like,
boyfriend slash fiance definitely was odd. I felt like Olivia, they just dressed her down because really her hair you couldn't do anything with. So I felt like when it came time for her to do what she had to do, which was fix her hair, they're like, okay, put makeup on her now. And so she like looks prettier than realizing it was just not just her hair. But that was
yeah.
just me. But yeah, the husband, fiance, boyfriend, whatever was a choice. And I felt like for a while they weren't showing his face for a while. Was I
Yeah.
the only one that felt like that?
Yeah, they weren't. And that was
I
that.
yeah.
and I don't know why.
I feel too that they didn't have anything in common. Like
Oh yeah.
like the boyfriend and her, they didn't have anything in common. So it was kind of like, okay, they're getting married, but I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
And
cool.
it was very
And then
clear
I
from the
like,
beginning that we're not meant for each other.
yeah, I like when like you know, when she's desperately to get her hair done, right? And then I
Yeah.
was like, but her hair is so short, like what
Yeah.
can you do? And then like, and then when she does something and then she go, and you know how they do it, like when they do the shot, they do it so slowly, right? And she's doing the hair and it looks so like epic. And then when it shows her the mirror, she's like, and I was like, you gonna look the same. Like I
Yeah.
don't see anything
We put
different.
we put some waves and a half ponytail in your hair and call it a
Yeah. It wasn't that great of a hairstyle to begin with. Like, I feel like they should have put a wig on her and made her like with, more hair and like kind of
yeah.
whatever. And then the way Olivia kept looking at herself, like,
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, here we
also
go.
the dress, the wedding dress from the back was not fitted properly. Like it made her look really
No.
big in the back. I mean, in the front it was pretty, but when they would do the shots of her in the back, I was like, ooh, took it back to the tailor.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was just, I mean, because I've been married. Maria Hira's married. Like, you know how it is, like with weddings. And so I just thought that some of and that's the thing. Like I don't know. I, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess that the wedding is probably I'm glad that all of that happened at the wedding because it was such a big reveal. When he puts up
Yeah.
the veil or whatever. Like I love that, right? But I don't know. I think that we probably could have gotten more out of this if we just kind of focus more on Claire and like her day to day, like what she's thinking and like that sort of, and then maybe it would be easier for us to understand like what's going on with her, right?
Yeah.
We're just speculating, like we don't know what's happening. And
Yeah, because it definitely does drag for a bit. Like there's parts in the movie that are kind of draggy. You're kind of like, okay, get it. But yeah, definitely. I think the last scene too. What I like the most is the way they shot it towards the end when like they took the bell on, and then everybody's reaction, and that's what they did. Like when they shot it like every single person's reaction in a slow motion. So I was like, oh, I love that. That was actually pretty interesting. And I like when the friends do this,
Yeah.
like it's just so funny. It's so funny. You're like, wow, like okay, I like this. Like the end was the best. Okay, they save it for the end. I get it. Like they save the whole thing for the end. It makes complete sense, right? And she's bleeding, and everybody's running and screaming. And then she just look, and then they just shot her on her. Like they just do a shot on her, and she's just looking like this, like, what's wrong? Like, why is everybody leaving? Like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
She's bleeding all here.
You know what?
Like,
Have y'all seen the movie Excision?
I
No.
have I seen that?
No. It has
I think no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it has like a similar type vibe as an ending. And I kept thinking about that when I was watching it. Stella's seen it.
Stella's seen it. And then that's the thing. It's not totally out of left field, but it's just, I think I agree with you, Hira. The way that it was shot, I think made it that much more visceral, made it that much more intense. And so I think that like, this actress in particular is really good at showing these emotional like ups and downs of characters because she's kind of like the same kind of character in Contracted. Like she's very desperate and Contracted. She's in love with her girlfriend. She wants to get back with her. Girlfriend doesn't want her. Like it's a whole thing. And I just think that like I think that these types of characters are always so interesting because it's like, you want to think of them as evil and you want to be like whatever, but you kind of like them, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I love that, and that's the one thing about horror. I think that you can love these characters because it's not like watching Dahmer or watching a Ted Bundy special or whatever, and 'cause you never feel for them, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
care for these people because this one, it did really happen, and two, it's great. It's not the same, I guess. Like this
Well,
is horror, so it just
she
makes me
doesn't
laugh.
have like a what I kind of like is she doesn't really have like a suit. I mean, from what we've seen, she didn't have like a super high body count. She kills maybe like 3 people in the movie, which is fine
Mhm.
because I don't know if I've said anything, but scalping is like one of the things that I can't watch. I mean, I was able to handle it here, but for some reason, ever since I was in middle school and we learned what it was from like, back in the native days, I guess. I don't even know if that's where it originated from, but that's what they told us. I just could not imagine what that felt like. And so the first one that happened was really hard for me to get through. But the other two, they didn't really, well, we know what happened to the barista, but and the scariest part, because it wasn't like a scary movie. Yeah, I think it's horror, definitely. Horror of the mind, horror of society. But the part that like really like fucked me up is the very end, right before the wedding, is when she was like, Olivia, I don't run, and she's like crying. And because Olivia asked her earlier if she likes to run, and she said, yeah, because she was planning on becoming her running buddy. And then like
Yeah.
they end up kind of falling apart. She's like, I don't run. She's like, what? And then she's like crying harder, and she's like, I don't run. And at first I was like, this is kind of funny. Like, are they going to become best friends and laugh about it afterwards? And then the last time she says, I don't run, I was like, oh, she's gonna kill her.
Yeah.
And that fucked me up because I was like, oh.
I know. It was so and that's the thing, like there are really good parts to this movie, and it's just a shame that it drags because I think that if it didn't have those boring, like, because and I always gauge it on if a movie is interesting me enough, I don't get on my phone, and I probably got on my phone a few times because like, oh, we're back at the salon, oh, we're back here, like, I get that they're trying to establish who she is, right? But like also at the same time, like just get to the fucking point. I think that because and the club, I think it was more interesting watching her struggle. Um, but at the same time, like, I want to see more kills. I want to see how she keeps everything like, whatever in her basement. And like, how the hell did she get that house? Like, like she's just a hairdresser, right? I mean, and if she's killing all her clients, she's not getting repeat clients. So how is she making all this money? Like,
Yeah. And how does
I
she
don't,
choose who she kills? Like the first woman, it was pretty set early on that she was going to kill her because she locks them in, I think.
yeah. And she puts them, like, you can tell when she's pouring the wine that she's going to do something.
Yeah.
And also too, that once she mentions that she's having an affair, I think that was when it kind of solidified
Well, I thought that
her
too.
intent.
I thought that too, but also I felt like, okay, she killed her because she doesn't know her. Because the whole thing about her being a stylist is that she doesn't get close to the people that she works with. So maybe it's kind of like a Dexter thing where she has like an addiction to killing. So she meets people that she doesn't know and kills them. So she doesn't
Like
feel
she
bad
has an
about it.
arch. Like she has an arch to do it. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, I have to do it. And then also the first victim, she was just somebody random that is
Yeah.
not even from that city. She just came there for business or whatever, to see the older person,
Yeah.
and so she probably thought in herself like, who's gonna look for her, why does it really matter? Like there was nothing here, like there's no connection, there's nothing. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, because with the barista, you could tell that she was panicking because she was seeing these things all over. And, obviously, but nothing came of it. And that was the thing too. Like nothing's coming of this. Like, why even get into the fact that we're talking about, people are looking for this woman and this, that, and third, but I kind of feel like it fizzles out, right? Like, I think that it would have probably been more effective if like they were just in time of like catching her or something, or like somebody realized and maybe she killed that person. Because when she goes to kill the director, the writer director, that tattoo chick, I don't know what the hell was going on, but why did she go over there? Who was that person to her? And why'd she go over and kill her? I don't even know. Like, I must have missed something.
no, there was missing points in the movie. There was like things that you're like, okay, what this leads to what, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just shows up at the chick's door, and I was like, well, maybe the director just wanted to put herself in there. I don't know, but like, she shows up at her door, kills her, and then leaves, and then it's the wedding. So I must have, I don't know. I guess I could go revisit it, but I was just really I was confused by that.
Yeah, it was a little
Anyway.
out of left field. I think she just went to the. I think what they were trying to say is she went to the next house and just banged on the door whenever whatever happened.
Oh, okay. Well, and that's, another little problem I have with it. But all in all, I would say that, if we're going to say it's a slashic, trashic, or classic, or whatever, like I would probably say I would say it's like maybe trashic. Like it's good, but I wouldn't, do I think it's like, oh, it's like I'm going to rewatch it 50 times? No. Like it's
Yeah,
fine.
I can agree with that. It's good, but it's not on par with some of the classics we have in the slashic
Mhm.
section.
Exactly. So, I mean, I would recommend it's on Shutter if you want to stream it. You don't have to, but if it's something that you're interested in, I know that we gave a lot of spoilers in this episode. So if you have
Oh,
not seen it yet, sorry for spoiling it.
yeah,
But if
but
you
you
still
just
want to go
reminded
back
me.
and watch it, yeah.
I
Yeah.
had one of the thoughts I had that this movie, one of the reasons why this movie probably isn't like talked about or well known is because like it's going to be hard to find an audience for this because you have a traditionally like
Mm.
male genre. Like I know there's a bunch of women out there that like horror, yes, I understand. But most of the horror fans are going to be men. And this movie is geared more towards a feminine side and not just like a feminine side. Like, there's a bunch of feminist horror movies, but I feel this is like you know how they have the term lipstick lesbian? It's almost like a lipstick horror movie. Like
Yeah.
it's even more segmented into like women that are like into hair and things like that, like pretty things and stuff. And so it to me, I feel like there's a very small amount of people that are actually gonna like this aesthetically. And so
Mhm.
like, I can't see like one of my horror bros seeing this trailer or the poster and being like, oh yeah, man, let's put that on. Um, I don't know. That was just a thought that I had. I was like, this is a really small audience that they're trying to reach. I mean, it worked for me. Maybe it's made for gay men.
Yeah.
I found the audience. Never mind. I
Yeah.
cracked the code.
Yeah,
Gay
because Doug
men and
Doug
us.
fell asleep. Like he said, "Oh, I'll watch it with you," and then like half of the movie he was dead asleep. Like
Snoring. So there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it
Doug proved my
wasn't.
point.
Yeah, it was.
It's
And then he even said to me, he's like so slow, like. And then his dead took okay, when she's sculpting great, but then after that, what leads to what? Like it's like no. And oh, and then he even said he's like, this movie seems that they're just like fanning their knots over it. Like it's no. Like I was like,
Yes, I
oh,
can
and
see
then he
Doug
said,
saying that.
"Oh, this is more like an A movie. She's this is an A movie." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "Yeah,
Aid?
this is an A." And yeah, and I was laughing. I was like, "So you're meaning this is more like a girly movie?" And then he's like, "Yeah, this is a girly movie." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
it really is. I think so. You know,
Yeah, I mean, there's some depth to it. That's the thing. It's not just it's slow burn, and I do like a slow burn. I normally do. This one, I think, this one was whatever. Yeah, I guess it would be one of my movies, but sorry, Doug. That's why we didn't invite Doug on this episode. So I'm really glad that we got to have Yahira because we like Yahira's like so involved in the show, everyone, and so the fact that we've never really had her on an episode, I think it was a lot of fun. So we'd love to have you again sometime on a Ghoul Friends episode or just Patreon bonus or whatever we do a group.
yeah. Whenever you're available, we can do another Tres Leches
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah,
Oh,
I actually
I
really enjoy it because I was like, yeah, I watch these movies all the time, anyways.
Yeah.
we're gonna play Bitty Bitty Bum Bum at the end. Yay.
We'll do the slashers theme song, but a mariachi cover.
I know. So with that, we're coming at the end of the episode. I just wanted to plug a few things. I mean, Brenda, thank you for choosing this because it was something that I have not seen yet before, and I think that it was nice to kind of watch something new for a change because I feel like all of us are sort of pigeonholed. Well, not Mikey. Mikey, you go to see new things all the time, and I think Diane and
Mhm.
Hara do, but I'd never. For me, it never feels like I have any time because I spend so much time doing research for the show, doing the show, editing the show, putting the show on, scheduling for the show, like watching movies for the show that I never really get to watch anything new or anything that is different from deviates from anything to do with the show. So it was nice to kind of see something different for a change because it would have sat in my list forever and I probably wouldn't watch it for another couple of years.
Yeah,
So
as you're forced to watch 5 trauma movies and then
Yes.
hairstylist at the end.
Doug, where can we go to sign up for our Patreon? I mean, not Doug. Mikey,
I was like,
where can we go to I'm like, Doug's not here. Mikey,
I
where
know.
can we go to sign up for our Patreon?
I
You
thought you
can
were
go-
gonna answer. You were actually like you were questioning me, and then I was like, I don't know that answer.
I know. I was
That's why I
like,
was looking at Mikey, like Mikey answer.
You know,
Like,
this
slide
just goes.
the mic over to Doug.
This is another instance where, you know, Yahira and Adam, both Doug and I's Brujas, have both confused me and Doug when it comes to our Instagram stories. So this is just another case of that. But if you want to sign up for Patreon, support us monetarily, you can sign up at patreon.com/slasherspod. If you want merchandise like t-shirts, mugs, coffee cans, I don't know what else is there. Go
Dental
to
dams.
dental dams, coffee cans, and dental dams. Sign up at slasherspod.redbubble.com. You can find Aid on Instagram at pathologicallyade or me at horror and a half shell or Yahira at, oh, you have numbers. What is yours again?
Yahi 45.
Yahi 45.
45.
That's YAJI 45.
I. Yes.
Mhm. Oh, you can also find her on B Movie TV. What do you host again? Saturday night?
Yeah. I host Saturday night there's at 10 p.m. on Saturdays.
Yes. And then Doug, Friday Night Action on Fridays and Cinema
Doug's
with
not
Dipper
here.
on Sundays.
If
But
Doug
he's
wanted a
not here,
promo, he
no,
should have
but-
been here.
Exactly. I know. Well, he's tagging us in all the Friday Night Action shit. Oh, wait, it is Friday. I'm like, why is it tagging us?
Hey, if
I don't know
Patreon
what day it
members, if
is.
you want to do a live stream of Friday Night Action or Saturday Night Terrors, let us know. Then we don't
Oh,
have to
that
pick
would
a
be a lot
movie.
of
We'll just
fun.
watch it, whatever it is, together on B Movie TV. Must have a Roku to participate.
Yeah. There will be a new episode for me tomorrow. So
It's a new episode tomorrow?
Okay. Oh.
yeah.
Ooh,
I
looking
know,
forward to
I'm
it.
excited. Yeah. So I'm so glad that we got to have you in here finally, Yahira. So you're always welcome back on the show. And if you guys are like excited to see more of Yahira or to hear more from Yahira, just let us know, and we'll just pressure her.
We'll
on
think
to more
about it.
episodes. Fine.
I'm just kidding.
Yes, we'll think about it, Mikey and me. So we're coming up at the end of the hour. So I just want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you guys. This is our last Patreon pick episode, but for the rest of our Patreon members, there's more than just the 6 that we did. So, if any of you are listening and you want to hear something, just, let me know. You can message me on Instagram or message the podcast on Instagram or Facebook, and we'd be happy to oblige. It just probably won't come up very soon, but we'll pepper it in where we can. And with that, I guess I'll say goodbye and good day.
Goodbye, good day. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Poots. What's his name? Gun. Thank you.
Ginger Ninja.
There's one
thank
more,
you.
isn't there?
Oh, my mom. Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
Mom.
Miss Aid's mom.
And thank you guys for inviting me.
Yes,
Okay.
always happy to have you. It won't be the last time.
Yay! Okay,
Yay.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, and thanks, Dan, for flushing the toilet behind me while I was speaking. Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
Dan.
Dan. Yeah. All right. Goodbye and good day.